The id, ego, and superego are three parts of the structural model as defined by Freud. The id is the only part of the psyche that is present from birth, and it makes unconscious decisions. The pleasure principle is the main driver of the id. It strives for all desires, wants, and needs you have. The id causes cravings. If we cannot satisfy these cravings, then it can result in anxiety, stress, or tension. The ego is the part of the psyche that deals with reality, filters the needs and wants of the id into something that would be acceptable in society. The ego is conscious, preconscious, and unconscious. The ego is based on reality, which means that it compares the pros and cons of a situation, and it develops socially acceptable ways of dealing with it. The superego is the last part of the psyche to develop. The superego begins developing around the age of 5. This is part of the psyche that allows people to think using morals and ideals. It allows for the ability to make guidelines for the reasons of choosing the things we do. Psychosexual stages of development are the oral, anal, phallic, latent, and genital stage. The oral stage is from birth to around 1 year. In this stage, the person gets pleasure from the mouth by sucking, eating, biting, chewing, and vocalizing. The second stage is from 1 year to around 3 years old, and it's called the anal stage. In this stage, the person gets pleasure from holding in and letting go of waste. It is in these two stages, the oral and anal, where the ego begins to develop. The third stage is the phallic stage. During the phallic stage, the person receives pleasure from their primary sex organs. The fourth stage is the latent stage. In this stage, the person denies attraction for the parent of the opposite sex and identifies with the parent of the same sex. This is called the Oedipus complex. The final stage is the genital stage, which occurs from puberty and beyond. In this stage, a person experiences the awakening of sexuality and desire for love. Freud's Oedipus complex theory is desire for sexual involvement with the parent of the opposite sex, and a sense of rivalry with the parent of the same sex, a crucial stage in the normal developmental process. Freud attributed the Oedipus complex to children of about 3 to 5. He said the stage usually ended when the children identified with the parent of the same sex and represented its sexual instincts. If previous relationships with the parents were relatively loving and non-traumatic, and if the parental attributes were neither excessively prohibited nor excessively stimulated, the stage is passed through harmoniously. In the presence of trauma, however, there occurs an infantile neurosis. That is an important forerunner for the similar reactions during the children's adult life. Superego, the moral factor that dominates the conscious adult mind, also has its origin in the process of overcoming the Oedipus complex. Freud considered the reactions against the Oedipus complex the most important social achievements of the human mind. Freud has many disagreements with other theorists, especially utilitarians. As he argues that people are naturally extremely unequal, and the primitive societies, without property, we're even more aggressive. He argues that aggression is an indestructible feature of human nature. That is why he critiques Marxist claims that man is wholly good and the institution of private property is a key problem. Freud objects to the biblical commandments, as he states that man's primary instinct is aggressiveness and not loving thy neighbor. He is against Hobbes and civil society, Locke's theory of assertion of rationality, and morality of man. As you can tell, Freud didn't have very many friends.